Hey, 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 what's going on? How's everyone doing? Oh, my camera's not where it needs to be. Oh, this is very professional, I know. Let me see if I can fix that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the stream. How did this get knocked off? This is really professional, I know. This is great. Let me see. Are we good? There we go. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. Um, Man, I'm so excited to do a stream about this because this is I think, one of the coolest things. Playable textures. Um, that probably even sounds weird. Like, what is a playable texture? Playable textures are basically a term you'll find in synthesis. It actually shows up a lot in Omnisphere. So you'll see people that are using Omnisphere in music production, and I'll even just pull up Omnisphere so you can see it for yourself. Um, it's this whole idea of playable textures. They're basically playable. Well, yeah, they're playable because they have resonance. They have a note within them. Like, you can have weird experimental sounds, right? If I go to the Omnisphere main library, it's this crazy preset menu everyone gets lost in, rightly so. You have textures that are like soundscapes, and this is basically, half of the stuff that you're hearing in those Netflix documentaries. It's like coming from here. um, and then textures playable. So textures playable means that there's a tonality to the sound that you're playing, and so you can play a note, something that works as a pitch that you could, if your song's in the key of E minor, you can play E minor on your keyboard. It will function like a keyboard sound, even though it's highly textured. Um, So when you're looking at presets that have playable textures, it's a mixed bag because texture can mean basically anything, right? It's sound design. Some lend themselves to playing monophonically, so like one note. Some sound good with chords, some don't, just depending on the sound. But you can make them yourself, and it's actually really easy. And it's one of the best ways for lo-fi hip-hop. It's going to give you a wide variety of sound design possibilities that are very unique. And they're not just cinematic. I think the sounds like synth pads work really well in lo-fi hip-hop because you want to have cool sounding things that are very distinct, right? So that's basically the idea. It's very easy to do on your own, and I'm going to show you how you can do it. So the secret is actually in how you create resonance when it's not there. So what I mean by resonance is, like, if we have a sound like this, I'm just taking this from Late Night Noir, which is one of my new lo-fi packs, and it's just a texture. So I pulled this basically from a Roland Space Echo unit I have over there, and I just basically played a very, very old tape loop that's been on there since when I bought it from reverb.com. And it's super noisy, and then I just boosted it a lot. So you hear all of this stuff in the background. A lot of times people would put this in their lo-fi track like as a background element and then mix it in underneath the beat. That's true. But you can do so many crazy experimental things that are going to give you beautiful sounds, starting with something totally non-musical like this. So we're going to grab an EQ. I'm going to use Pro Q3. You can use EQ8. If you're in FL Studio, you can use Parametric EQ2, whatever EQ you want to use, but preferably something that gives you some visual feedback like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a very, very tight cue. So you commonly see people do this when they want to be kind of surgical and cut like an offending frequency out of a sound. But in this case, we're actually going to use it as like a big bump, like something that's just going to like pinpoint a very specific frequency and then push it up. And you've probably heard of stuff like, we could look it up, but like frequency as it exists to pitch. So a lot of times people talk about the note A, which is 440 hertz, right? Well, this is in hertz. You can see it's super small, but it says HZ there. And we can go to 440. Now you might not be able to hear it, but I'm actually boosting that one frequency, and it's actually created already a little bump right around 440, 442 hertz, right? And now we're going to double down on that. So I'm going to really push this thing up. Okay, now you actually have this thing sticking out, this one frequency. So what this is doing is we're adding resonance where it didn't really exist in a sound. So you could think of just about any sound that's out there. You could have the recording of nature. You could have the recording of a factory with like some kind of noise. You could record your ceiling fan. You could do literally anything, and you've created a unique texture that now you're creating a note out of thin air using the EQ. It's a pretty wild idea, and a lot of people don't think of doing it, but there's other ways you can do it as well. Like resonance, adding resonance where it didn't exist has always been something in synthesis. When you look at a synthesizer, like I'll just pull up Wavetable, there's a reason why they give you this whole, resonance on a filter. So in subtractive synthesis, this is a really big deal. Let me see, where is our filter? Oh, it's down here in the bottom left. I wish I could make this bigger. But anyway, it's right here. And you even have a little RES, resonance, and you can add this crazy bump. And I wish I could make it bigger so you could see it better, but there it is, right? That's why it's such a big deal in synthesis, because resonance adds a specific spot where you make a sound, and it's going to change that synthesizer sound. The same idea applies to audio. There's no limits on this stuff. And then you get these crazy results. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to like double this all out, and maybe I'll just compensate for that so we don't have any level challenges. So I'm going to go over here, and I could probably just do it like this. Right, I need to go here. And we'll just try and match everything. Okay, so now that's really loud. Maybe we'll get rid of one of them. But now, okay, you can hear that note sticking out like a sore thumb, right? So I've created a note, and really you can kind of add the note so it's barely audible. It's going to be very subtle as an effect. Or it could be kind of there, you know, in spades, and then the rest of your original sound around it becomes its kind of texture, right? It's sort of its dressing. Okay, but this is pretty strong. I like this balance between the resonant peak and the rest of the original sound. We're not clipping. That sounds good. I'm just going to freeze and flatten this. Freeze and flattening is going to print in the effects I've done on the plugin. It's really important to do that in any DAW you're in for a lot of reasons. Now I essentially have a new sample, right? And I like to do a couple other things sometimes. Like I might just like compress it a little bit so that it unifies things a little bit. I just love to kind of smash things because I think it makes things sound older. That's a nice happy medium. And now we have a sample, right? So this is where it gets interesting. It's different in every DAW how you do this, but the idea is pretty simple. If you've played samples in FL or Ableton or Logic or whatever, you just load them in a Q sampler in Logic. Same idea. So now we're just going to go, we're in Ableton, we just use Simpler. You could use this in Sampler as well. I just tend to use Simpler because it's simpler. And then, yeah, so you got this sound here now. And now I can play it on my MIDI keyboard that's underneath the desk here. So I've literally just created a pad. Just the volume here. And I notice the sound, the sample like starts right off the bat, right? So it's just, That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I might want to change that. That's why we get into controls on Simpler. So this is an Ableton tutorial. So you can see here, we're just going to go in. They actually give you a filter, LFO, and envelope. That's why the envelope exists. I can make the attack a little bit slower. I could adjust some other things like the release. I actually like to go up to like 8 seconds when I'm sampling, so when I physically play, it like drifts away. So immediately we've created a playable texture, and that's it. That's basically the gist of it. You can take this idea, you can run with it, you can combine it. You could take something like an instrument rack, which I'll grab right here, and you could combine this sound basically with another sound, and immediately you're going to have a more unique sound. In particular, what I love about this is when you combine it with a piano. So like I'll take a very plain Jane piano sound, but what I'm actually doing to like make something sound more classic is I'm mixing it with a playable texture, and it just gives me more unique sounds, and it's really interesting, right? It's kind of already sounding pretty ghostly. I didn't even put any effects on it, so this tends to like create a lot of character, which I really like. So you know, again, a plain Jane piano sound right here. And then you'll notice that it's a different pitch because we built this out of A from 440. So they're 3 semitones apart because of that. You can fix this just by going to controls, and then we're looking for transposition, and we go up by 3. And that's going to allow me to combine this with a standard instrument that's concert tuned. Now they're combined, and what I usually do is just use my volume faders here to like balance it out, right? I mean, this is super distinct sounding, right? It's crazy. So I really love this. And then, of course, you know, we always do like parallel processing and stuff just to make it sound more interesting. Going in, I'm just grabbing something quick just for the stream, but you get the idea. You can run with this. And by the way, using an EQ is not the only way to create interesting resonance. There's a lot of ways to do it. So this is really also like an idea surrounding synthesis than anything else. So I've got this thing here, put that on. Right? Like how distinct a texture is that? It's crazy. So yeah, you can definitely like run with this. We could just grab a beat or something just to kind of get us some inspiration. That's kind of cool. I like that one. So we have a beat now. I could actually leave this on in the background. And I'll just pitch it up to C. Also, if you add a reverb to that new sample that has the resonant peak inside it, the reverb actually has this great joining effect. Like kind of low key, a reverb sounds really good because it actually adds resonance itself, right? It embellishes the resonance that's there. That's why we love it on vocals and everything like that, right? So if you put a resonant peak on a sample and you add a reverb, it's going to almost sort of embellish that element even more. So now you have this nice little pad, this drone, I should say. And I'm playing the sample kind of high, like. Really ghostly sounding. And then you can kind of just figure out the balance for yourself. Over here, I might turn the texture down, turn the piano up so you have a little more of the... We'll just play our sample again there. So it can sound super dark with all that texture, right? Like it gives you a certain kind of sound. Just record a loop. Yeah, so it stands to reason now that you've taken this idea, you can apply it to literally anything. And how you affect the sample or the sample that you start with can change everything about the sound, right? In this case, I just wanted to get there really fast by adding that piano sound just to kind of make it a little more musical. If you take it away, though, you get a really distinct playable sound. Noisy. You can shape it. Kind of chill it out a little bit, right? Oh, we could do a bunch of stuff. Grab this thing. What's going on, Disco? Thanks for joining us. Man, Brazil. It's probably getting hot down there, right? It's getting hot where I am. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, so this is such a fun technique to use. And then we can just take the sample. I'm going to use the same sample because we don't have to kind of do the process again. But anyone that's like just joining us now, we're taking samples and we're creating textured pads. It's super simple. It's like a two-step process, but it's going to give you crazy sound design. And you don't have to do it just in Ableton. If you've got FL on your computer right now, Logic, it really doesn't matter. The whole idea is very simple. You take something that doesn't have texture, you create it using a resonant peak, and you could do that with a simple EQ. Actually, because we have some people just jumping in, I'm going to do it really fast one more time, just with a different sound. So I'm just going to grab something else. I mean, you know, look at this. It's just basically just a vinyl recording here. There's nothing special about it. We just go in, grab an EQ. Could be any EQ. I'm just using this one because I like the way it looks, basically. And then set it to 440, which is A. Now you can set this to a different frequency, by the way. So you can, I should have grabbed the chart, but I could grab the chart and then bring it up. You could choose any frequency. You could set it to C if you want. I just set it to 440 and I pitch up by 3 semitones because it's a nice mid-range frequency. It sounds good, but you'll get a different result if you do the same thing with a different frequency, just like that, right? And then I might just duplicate it up. 2 is probably fine for this. You're going to hear a tone now. It sounds really interesting too. Right? Really cool. And then you could shape the sample even more. So a lot of times you'll see me do stuff like this. I'm just grabbing EQs and I'm kind of like sculpting the sound, and then I'll freeze and flatten, or in FL you bounce this, or Logic you bounce in place, right? So I'm kind of like just shaping it. And then when you add a reverb to this resonant peak that you now have in the sample, it's going to embellish that resonance because a reverb is essentially more resonance. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, I love that sound just on its own. It reminds me of like Silent Hill or something. So I just like freeze and flatten it. This is so much fun, dude. You could do this on literally anything. You wonder why people have pads that sound so dark and beautiful. This is how they did it. This technique, actually, I learned from a video about Burial. Burial is this amazing producer. It's done like dubstep. Check out Untrue on YouTube or Spotify. It's a really cool album. It's not lo-fi hip-hop, but his sound design was crazy, and a lot of his samples just came from like Metal Gear Solid and stuff. But he would just manipulate it with lots of plugins, and you get this sound. So we're in Ableton. We'll use Simpler, drag it in, drop it in. We're going to change our envelope. Slower attack, that's just the way I like it. Slower release, because I'm going to play it. Oh, we got to turn the volume up. That's right. I actually like what the vinyl does even more. That's crazy. This beat is actually even a little bit too, I don't know what it is, but whenever I do these, unless I really try to, they sound way more mysterious than I'm even expecting. It's crazy. Oh, let me just fix this. Turn that off, loop this. have to fix that release. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I almost feel like the beat almost like gets in the way of it too sometimes. Because whenever I get these sounds, I just want to like hear them on their own. I'm just playing a C minor chord, dead simple. C minor 7 chord. 4 notes. Yeah, so that's kind of low-key one of my favorite kind of tricks with sound design. I'm just going to load FL too, because the whole idea of using your EQ, it happens all the time, and people do a lot of different things, like they don't realize that the EQ could be used as a sound design tool just in general. So what I mean by it is this. So I'm just in like FL stock. I'm literally just going to go to the FL stuff that they give you. So drums, kicks. The first kick that I'm just literally going to grab. And we'll like place it in here. So I'm not even trying to create a beat. All I'm really trying to do is just show you how crazy this technique is for other things. So this isn't even like a song or anything, but I'll slow it down. And I'm just going to make sure this is set to a mixer chain. And then I'm going to go in Fruity Parametric EQ2. And there it is. And basically what I'm going to do with this kick is I'm going to search for its principal point of resonance. The reason why I like this plugin is it literally lights it up for you. And it's basically telling me that it's peaking at 63 hertz. Right? So I don't want the shelf though. So I'm going to take one of these things. Now, is it distorting? Yeah, of course it is. Is this sound kind of crazy? Yeah, it's kind of a crazy idea. Now it is clipping off the sample, which I'm not a fan of. So maybe I'll go over here and I'll just pick the type here. It's still kind of in that. That sample's not too happy about us doing this. But basically, there you go. So you have this idea of taking an EQ on a kick and boosting it out as well. And this is actually kind of where the term 808 came from, because they had an 808 drum machine by Roland, right? And had a kick drum, and if you opened it up and messed with it, you could just boost out the resonance in that kick. And that's what created the sound of, you know, that sound. It really wasn't necessarily like a synth or a bass. It actually happened from the kick drum itself. Here's another example you can use for yourself. I'm going to use my free hip hop pack. You can get this, the link is in the description below. I've done a bunch of content on it. You can grab it. It's got a bunch of more modern trap stuff. I know we're doing lo-fi hip hop, but you can check that out if you want. And I'm just going to grab a loop. This is one of the funnest ways to show this too. Like, this is literally how you can make an 808, and you can just make your own 808 samples. Let's see, where is it? Where is it? Free hip hop standards pack. So if you go in my shorts, you'll see I've done some content on this pack. Totally for free. It's got a bunch of crazy stuff in it. And I just want the beat. So I just want the kick and the snare. Yeah, that'll work. So I'll put this in. This is like modern trap, so it's at 150. Oh, sorry. Okay. And we'll set this up here. So that's the original kick snare. And it's actually coming from this loop. It's a cool loop. This one right here. Actually, let's just do it on this loop. Why not? So I'm going to set this to channel 1. And I should probably just turn that off. So notice how the EQ, that huge peak, it's adding that 808. So without it, just like super simple kick, right? Now you have an 808. And the 808 is tied to the pitch of your kick. So everyone has trouble in beats where you have an 808 sample in some kind of, sample pack, and it's not even in C. So you're trying to play it on the keyboard, you're trying to transpose it in your head, and then it's not matching the pitch of your kick anyway, even if you find out where you need to play it or it's in tune to your song. If you get a kick drum that's in tune to your song, you can have the 808 just come from building the resonance into the kick. And that's oftentimes the secret behind a lot of 808s. Like, they know they're going to have their 808 not need to be like a MIDI instrument thing, so they just build it into the kick. And you get this very joined sound between the 808 bass resonance and the kick. And not every hip-hop track goes that approach, but this exists. That's how we do it, or if you want to do it that way, right? So there you go. The EQ is the key. Now you can create resonance other ways, just to zoom out and just have fun with it. So you can do, what was this, the sample we were doing before? Yeah, this is like our vinyl. Let me go back to the vinyl. It came from that, which is literally just my dad's vinyl record player that I just, basically threw into the DAW. It's funny too, like you sit there and grab a vinyl record and just play the very end before it glides into the paper in the center. It's like, oh, perfect. Anyway, so you have that thing there. And what was I talking about? Oh yeah, resonance, right? So there's other ways you can do it. Like, you have a thing in Ableton that's literally called a resonator. I don't know where it is, but that goes without saying. Oh, there you go. Reverb and resonance. So even Ableton knows, they put them together. Like, reverbs give you more resonance, like a little sound design secret. I just go into it could be anything. Vocoders are crazy. Is this necessarily what people think of for lo-fi hip hop? No, people usually just think about drums, and cool chords. But the textures are going to give you all that sound design. So here I'm taking that same sound, put it on its own track, put it down here, play it, grab the resonator, put it on there. This is literally just creating synthesized notes around the sound you're putting into it. So now it's created more notes. If I duplicate the sound, Control D or Command D, boom, even more resonance. Freeze and flatten it in. The resonator in Ableton is also a way to create resonance. It tends to sound kind of like a little more kind of grainy. I mean, you can hear it for yourself. Which is, it's all right. It's not the same thing as what we did before, but it can actually be really useful, because another secret with sound design is when you hear a sound that's more grainy, it's actually a sign that you could use it on something that your ear feels like sounds like brass. It's kind of another secret there. Like, when you're synthesizing, people love to use square waves because they turn really nicely into brass sounds. But anyway, so this has a note now attached to it. Solo it. mode is on. So it plays through. And you can adjust these things in Simpler if you haven't used it already. It's a lot of fun. Here, play the fade. So now it's endless. Turn up the release super high. Attack a little less crazy. And we can just add more resonance to the sound we created. Like shimmer. So it's crazy, right? That just came from a piece of vinyl, like a vinyl crackly sound. So the possibilities are endless. And again, this is not the only way to create resonance. You could do it any way you want. I mean, you could even arguably do it just using like convolution or a convolution reverb. There's like all kinds of stuff. You could go crazy with this stuff. You're supposed to, actually. Just try whatever you want. Vocoders also do it. Those are pretty nice. But yeah, there you go. Playable textures. That's basically it. And there's just like other examples you can try with it. And I think for this one, we got some comments. Hello. Oh, you're on Reason 12, yeah. I've never tried Reason. That's awesome. You got Omnisphere, though. Omnisphere is amazing. That sounds like a Tom. I know, right? Yeah. It's crazy. The more you mess with these sounds, if they remind you of something, that's a pretty cool thing, right? Sometimes you want a sound that doesn't remind you of anything. And then you might go for like FM synthesis, but for sure, if it reminds you of something, you're onto something, right? That's probably like sometimes the uncanny place you want to be in more distinct, sounds. Sound design is like, does it sound like something, but you would never get it from one of these contact libraries that people pay money for. Not that those are bad, those are amazing. But like when you make something or you pull a source like a one shot from a sample pack, something that's designed sonically, so when you throw it into your sampler on your DAW of choice, could be any DAW, by the way, could be Reason, you can get that unique sound. Yeah, I mean, lo-fi can be more difficult. I mean, it's a fun genre. It's funny too, because ironically, I think that for a minute it's been considered a genre that's for casuals only. Which I feel like the people that I know that are really great lo-fi artists, like people that are way better than me at the genre, like they are the best sound designers and the best mixers are like lo-fi. That's my opinion. But like, I've just had experiences where like if someone did a really bad mix, like in a professional studio, they were like into indie rock and they preferred rock. Some of like the lo-fi hip hop and hip hop producers in general are like the best sound engineers. And it's not really a given, like, so yeah, I agree with you. And then lo-fi music has all like the jazz chords, R&B, like all this sophisticated harmonization that you can do. Also just learning how to flip a sample, you know, like that's not easy. Flipping a sample, you know, depending on what the source is. So yeah. I know field recordings are crazy. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And then you can get this stuff. It's everywhere. Go to freesounds.org, you know. Just type in random stuff, throw it in, you know, make a folder in your hard drive and just start drag and dropping it in and like making stuff. It's great. But yeah, I kind of want to just like turn this into a beat. I don't even know, because it just sounds cool. They're so different too. So here's the one we made with one technique. This sounds more like Burial. And then we've got this thing here. Like, it's hard to believe they came from the same sample, but they did. Okay, so another what's up, TF? Another thing that's also like low key, probably overlooked. I don't know. Maybe it's not overlooked, but just something that I would like show students. So like sound generators. So like when you're out there like looking at stuff pops up on your Instagram, like sound generators. Like what's the point of that? Like drones. Or if you're at a sample library and you find soundscape, drone, texture, Foley, field recordings, background, weather, all that stuff is actually really usable for music because of this technique, right? So we just go in like, I don't even know. We could probably do Reactor, because Reactor's kind of old, but it's GOAT status. So I'm just going to pull in Reactor because this thing is absolutely insane. This is one of the secrets, by the way. This is not just like junk. This is for real right here. I'm showing you this stuff. These are the secrets. I'm telling you. I'll show you sounds and stuff where it's like, oh yeah, that's what they're doing on that Netflix soundtrack. It's crazy. Okay, so I'm in Reactor. This is the craziest thing. It's old Reactor, but it's wild how much stuff is in here. It's insane. What was I going to do? I'm just going to the old library. I'm going to go, there's insane amounts of stuff. Sound generators, metaphysical function. This is an old sound generator, guys. This thing's been around for a minute. Low key, it's got a randomize function. This thing is like, if you're trying to do horror soundtracks, if you're just trying to like pull stuff out of thin air, this thing is GOAT status, I'm telling you. So I'm going to smash it with reverb. And then I'm just going to record into an audio track. It's very easy to do that in Ableton. So what you do is you just go over here. I just like to solo the elements. The external is going to come from Reactor. And then I'm just going to turn off the count in. Nope. Make sure that one's on. So now we're hearing it going straight into audio. So hear that whistle? That's perfect. Like in my head, I'm thinking, we got it. Get rid of that. Compress it. Just because I'm trying to bring out detail. So I'm just going to smash it. And it gets louder too. I mean, you know, welcome to Silent Hill. Freeze, flatten. So metaphysical function, a lot of those sound generator stuff, you can get these for free, by the way. They're all over the internet. Like people make these things. They just put them out there. These are your sound resources, right? So it's funny because sound design's kind of nerdy or whatever, but it's like the stuff you create is like, it's crazy. I mean, I love presets too. Synth presets, they're like awesome for inspiration, but you do a couple steps, you get used to doing the steps, you get crazy sounds for yourself. Simpler, I'm just going to use the resonance that's built into it. And yeah, and we'll just play it. This one's a bit messier because we didn't do it just straight with the 440 EQ. But there you go. It's there. Just gotta fix the envelope. And when you pull from something else, it's a mixed bag whether or not it's going to sound good with a chord. But monophonically, there you go. You're off to the races. And like, I'm adding even more reverb because why not? It's more cinematic, yeah. But like, imagine this in the background when you're just creating something like, all right, we gotta make a beat. We gotta stop messing around. Here we go. It's all right. I'm just gonna push it down. Yamaoka. Is that a composer? I think we talked about Silent Hill. I'm not sure. That's the thing I love about this. Like, when I first discovered this, I was like, that's how you make stuff. Like, you don't have to buy the latest and greatest contact library. It's just knowing a couple little tricks. And then once you do those tricks a bunch of times, you get fast at it. You don't have to think about it, you know? And then you just get like, what is that? That's how it happens. Very introspective sounds come from these. It's crazy. All right, I'm gonna shut up and just make music for a second. Silent Hill, I know. Yeah, Silent Hill. I didn't know his name. I might have read it on Wikipedia, but my brain doesn't work anymore. Yeah. It's sick. I actually was low-key thinking about buying a PS1. There's a retro video game store I discovered recently. And like, they got PS1s, they got GameCubes, they got a Dreamcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, buy a Dreamcast, play Crazy Taxi or Jet Set Radio. It's like pure nostalgia. I'm aging myself in front of everyone saying that, but I don't care. Silent Hill 2. Craziness. Oh yeah, let's make music. Yeah, I gotta check that out, Cadaver. I'll check that out. Track free. That sounds sick. I probably gotta write it down, but I'm just waiting to see if this makes my computer explode. Probably will, but who cares? Oh, there we go. This is not actually E flat. There's no way this is E flat. See what we can do about it. That's gonna make people at the music libraries really happy, but you can blame me. They're Like, what key is your track in? We want to sign it. It's halfway between it. E flat and E. You're fired. You can't fire me, you don't pay me. Yeah, this is not working. Like, wait, what? You know what? I'm just gonna do something silly. Yeah, that's the thing, right? The overtones. So it's cool too. Like in Omnisphere, you got some of them are impossible to make a chord because there's just so much stuff going on in the sound. Yeah, the overtones are for real. Thanks, Cadaver. Thanks for dropping by, man. Hope you enjoy the stream. Everyone, I think I'm going to edit there for tonight. Yeah, I think I'm going to jump off now. Just kind of want to do like a short stream tonight. Just do some stuff with sound design, do something kind of cool, and go from there. I'm going to sign off. Everyone take care. Hope you have a good night. Enjoy the stream, and yeah, we'll just leave it there. Everyone has a good night. I'll see you all next time. Take care.